Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my reaction to the next episode of Free, which is episode 5. So yeah, we're here with another episode of Free, and I'm surprisingly really enjoying this show so far. I've said it before, but I really didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I did. Honestly, being completely honest, I expected this to be a show I would drop. But I'm actually really enjoying it. I like the characters, I like the stories, and it's like not every character hits me as strongly as the others, but there's none of them I really actively dislike. The closest would be Reen. But they've actually given a bigger explanation for why he's acting the way he is now, and I wouldn't say it's okay for him to act like that, but it's more understandable now. But moving on. So the newest addition to the club, to the Iwatobi Swim Club, is Ray. And Ray at first didn't know how to swim. They tried to teach him, didn't work. But he eventually figures out on his own how to do the butterfly stroke. And it works for him. He's able to do it, he's able to handle it well, and he, I guess you could say, becomes a full member of the team. So they're working their way towards entering some competitions and whatnot now. And there was one they were mentioning that's coming up, and I assume that's where this is going to go next. I don't know for sure, though. We also had a little bit of trying on different swimsuits and stuff, which was fun. And that gets me to something I do really want to talk about that kind of fits in with this video, with this reaction series. But is also just another thing I want to talk about myself personally. It does fit in with what I'm talking about, though, here. Believe me, it does. So it still comes up, and I've talked about this before to a degree, but it still comes up all the time. You would not believe how often people are still surprised at, I guess you could say, the way I act around people I find attractive. Or even just the way I act towards characters I find attractive. People are surprised when I tell them I'm asexual, yet still show extreme, how do I put this? Interest, I guess, just the simplest way. Extreme interest in these kinds of, in characters, and specifically in seeing these characters in little clothing, I guess you could just word it that way. Seeing them getting in swimsuits or whatnot in the case of Free, or like in the case of I don't know, like Legend of Korra, seeing fan art of Korra in workout gear, such as a sports bra and shorts or whatnot. Basically, just in whether it's actual canon stuff or fan art or whatnot, seeing the characters in less clothing, seeing more of their bare skin and stuff, whether it's their legs, their arms, their midriff, cleavage, etc. People are surprised still at this point, even though I've explained this multiple times on all kinds of social media. People are still surprised that I can claim to be asexual, but still show interest in people's bodies. And I'm bringing this up because, again, when it was showing like all of them trying on the swimsuits and stuff, and there was the one shot in, I believe it was last episode, where it shows Ray stretching before he's going to try out to swim, and it shows a notable shot that kind of focuses partly on his crotch. I pointed it out before, and I felt it, like, at least watching it back, I felt like I was clearly showing interest. And I want to just make it clear, again, asexuality is kind of a spectrum on what it means, just like any part of the LGBTQ plus community. And asexuality comes in different, like, I guess you could say, levels. Some people are repulsed by sex. Some asexual people don't like seeing sex at all, don't like seeing people naked or close to it, etc., etc. Some asexual people, like myself, on the other hand, just don't desire to engage in sex personally. Some asexual people have nothing wrong with seeing a person naked or close to it, have nothing wrong with even occasionally looking at pornography. But they just personally do not wish to engage in the action of sex. That they have no desire to have sex with anyone, no matter who it is. That is still just as valid a form of asexuality as it is with someone who is more repulsed by sex and doesn't want to see that kind of stuff in things they watch or whatnot. And as I said, I'm the latter version. The second one I mentioned at first, because I kind of flipped the order, I think, there at the end. I am not sex repulsed. In fact, I'm not at all, pretty much. I just personally do not wish to have it. I have no desire, no drive to engage in sex. But that doesn't mean that I can't acknowledge when someone is attractive physically, even if it's a fictional character. I very much acknowledge if people are attractive. And I can acknowledge if something is very attractive in that kind of way. You know what I mean? In the way where it can really, well, attract me, for lack of a more appropriate term. But without me necessarily, like, again, fantasizing about having sex with the character or whatnot. In the case of Korra, like with Legend of Korra, I find her extremely attractive to the point where I find her body very attractive to look at. Especially in a lot of the fan art where it portrays her as buff. Like, I mean, she's buff in the show too. I mean, yeah, but like there's some fan art that shows her like with notable muscle definition and abs and stuff, and yeah. And the same goes for Free. Honestly, Ray I find to be legitimately very attractive. And not just because of, again, that shot that kind of showed his crotch there and maybe a little bit of a bulge. No. I find his body, in the way it's drawn by the artists and animators of the series, to be attractive. I acknowledge I don't fantasize about having sex with the character, but I don't argue that he is an attractively drawn character. And obviously the same can go for real life people. Like Brian Deckard, very hot. David Beckham is hot. I admit that. Or for girls, like there's a lot of female actors, actresses, singers, etc. out there. A lot of male actors, actresses, a lot of non-binary people like Bex Taylor Klaus who are very attractive. And that doesn't mean I want to fuck them. It just means I find them attractive. Just means that their bodies are attractive to me. And honestly, no matter what they're wearing. But I'm bringing this up again because some people still find it strange when I act like that or mention that, or when I like look at like a character or something and seem like I'm very, from their perspective, turned on, basically. So I wanted to bring that up again. Because honestly, I am trying to hammer in this point. I do want people to understand that just because I'm asexual doesn't mean I'm sex repulsed. Just because I'm asexual doesn't mean I don't understand if a person is attractive. It just means that I don't wish to engage in sex with them or anyone else. Or in terms of a character, I don't wish to, or I don't fantasize, not even wish to, I don't fantasize about having sex with them. No, I just find them attractive. And there's a lot of that in the show. And to be fair, this show is very fan servicey. It just is. It is clearly made to be fan servicey. Let's be honest. It's a swimming show. There's going to be a lot of guys wearing swimsuits. And there's going to be a lot of thirsty girls out there getting into that. And a lot of thirsty guys, too, to be fair, and non-binary people. There's going to be a lot of thirsty people out there getting into that. And that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. A lot of people seem to think there is, especially a lot of the more, how do you put it? Oh, there's a word for it. I can't think of it. Like it's not conservative. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. But a lot of the more, I guess, okay, I can't think of a word, so I'm just going to say fuddy-duddy. A lot of the fuddy-duddies out there still act like any kind of skin showing or whatnot, midriffs, cleavage for girls, or trans guys even, or non-binary people. Cleavage in general, I guess. Or anything like that. Some people find that, like, act like it's inappropriate and everything. And will, like, be sticks in the mud about it, and, like, will try to act like there's something inherently wrong with dressing that way, or in terms of other people, with finding them attractive and noting that they find them attractive. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing at all wrong with that. And I wish more people would know that. Like, people can go out in the summer wearing bikinis. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with guys going out shirtless or whatever. You get the idea. The point I'm trying to make with all of this, though, is that, yes, I find these characters attractive. And despite my asexuality, I find their bodies attractive. I find them very physically appealing. And that is part of the draw of this show. That is part of what makes this show entertaining to me, honestly. And yes, story and just characters in general and how they're written is definitely still my main focus. Because as with anything I watch or play or whatever, all of that is my main focus, always. Story and characters are the most important thing of any show, game, movie, etc. And it's no different here, but that doesn't mean that other things can't contribute to enjoying a series. I love the story and I love the characters, but I also enjoy the fan service. And I'm not one for fan service. I'm not like a big fan servicey person. But there are certain times where it almost seems like it's making fun of itself. In the same kind of way that Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid does. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid uses fan service so perfectly. It uses it as almost its own joke, especially with Lukua, which makes sense because it's a parody series. But yeah, it's like, this almost seems like it's kind of, it's self-aware about what it's doing. Like, the creators are very clearly knowing how they're handling this, and they're not really making fun of themselves for it, like Dragon Maid does, but more along the lines of they are going ham with it. Excuse me. They're hamming it out, and I think that's really funny, and it makes it really entertaining. It makes it entertaining to watch when the creators know what they're doing and they're making sure they go all out with it. That's the kind of thing that you would see in JoJo, honestly. But no, this is Studio Bones, right? Not David Productions. Or no, what am I thinking? This is KyoAni. Free is KyoAni. Yeah, because Free's been brought up a lot with the entire KyoAni incident and all. So yeah, I almost forgot about that because it's such a different style from other KyoAni shows like K-On! And whatnot. Even Dragon Maid is much more in the standard KyoAni style that you think of. Though I guess Violet Evergarden is KyoAni as well, right? I guess that's more in this similar style to Free. Either way, I am really enjoying this series, and like I said, it doesn't seem like it would necessarily be the kind of series for me, but against everything, it's working out. Again, I love the characters. I enjoy the fan service. And I like the story so far. I think it's handling it well. It's pacing it out well. And for a season that's only 12 episodes, I'm just wondering what they're going to do to wrap things up with Reen. Because that's definitely going to be the big thing that I feel they're going to work on wrapping up with this season. And I know there's like a couple other seasons after this. As I've said before, I do not yet know if I'm going to react to those. It's just going to depend on how the rest of this season goes, and we'll kind of see for the future. Um, I don't know. I do not know at the moment. But yeah, like I said, we'll see. And hopefully this series does end up being good enough for me to want to react to the future seasons. Um, but we'll have to see. And yeah. I've talked about this a lot longer than I wanted to, but I kind of went into the entire spiel about my asexuality and everything. um, and I apologize for that for those of you who had heard me rant about that many times now. But again, it's like it's weird that I feel like I have to keep explaining that, um, because again, I've explained it so many times by now. But yeah, so like I said, I am enjoying the fan service. But I'm enjoying so much more than that with the series. It's done so much more than I thought it would do, and I hope it continues to do so. Um, I think I mentioned it last time, but my favorite characters right now are still Ray, uh, Gone. Is it Gone or Cone? Or no, it's Go or Co. I forgot which one is the one she prefers, though. I think the one she prefers is Co. Like, because I think Go is her actual name and Co is what she prefers to go by. Um, so she's another one of my top three, and my other top three is the teacher, Miss A. Those three are definitely my top three, not even a question. If I had to choose a least favorite right now, it's Reen. Right now, it's Reen, but that could change. We'll have to see. And as for obviously best ship, that's definitely Ray and what's his face, the cutesy one. I cannot remember his name right now. It's been a couple weeks. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite ship so far. And honestly, really the only one I really stand by. I mean, I can see the main character in Reen. I can see that one. I see why people ship that, but yeah, Ray and the cutesy one are the only ones that I actually really stand by right now. And as was pointed out to me, apparently that's the safe ship. Apparently it's the one that everyone can kind of agree to. That there's not all this infighting amongst the fandom with, um, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going with the safe ship. I mean, hell, technically Naruto and Hina from Naruto, obviously, was a safe ship. Even though a lot of people disagreed with it, it was safe. That was more safe because of just how easy it was. A lot of people still shipped him with Sakura more. But I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm not going to get into how I shipped Sakura with Ino. But yeah. So, Free, episode 5. Let's get this started. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for listening to my rant again on my asexuality. And for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, you know I'm enjoying a series when I freak out over a cliffhanger. Because, I mean, I like cliffhangers. Don't get me wrong. I actually think they add immensely to a series. And I think they're important to have, even. But you know I'm really enjoying this when it suddenly ends on a cliffhanger and it freaks me out. Because it did that. Not only just because it kind of surprised me, um, in terms of like I wasn't expecting it and it just kind of came out of nowhere. But on top of that, it just it did admittedly upset me a little because it's like that was a really harsh time to end that on. Maybe it's because Ray is my favorite character. But it's like you're gonna end on Ray, who is barely able to swim at this point, on the verge of drowning, and Makoto, who has somewhat of an issue with the ocean, running in to save him, and it just cuts like that. You're really gonna do me like that? But hey, I do actually really love cliffhangers, and this was a fantastic one. Even despite me getting a little upset about it, being surprised by it. Um, I mean, it was still a good cliffhanger. I mean, if it makes me care that much about it, that means it's a good cliffhanger. Um, so yeah, uh, Ko finds a training book from the previous Iwatobi Swim Club, and she decides to work with them to get them to a island training regimen. Initially, they're thinking deserted island, but due to budget and all, they have to kind of go with what they can get. And so they all eventually agree with Ray kind of being the bit of a naysayer. I think he actually even used that term in the episode. Um, but they agree to go to this nearby island and just kind of camp out on the beach. Um, Except for the girls, Miss A and Ko, they're at the lodge nearby. Excuse me. But the others are camping out on the beach, and they're going to swim between these nearby islands every day for training and stuff. And we see a lot in this episode that Makoto is currently the focus. We had a couple episodes where the focus was much more clearly on Ray, and now we're doing it with Makoto. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of how this series goes. There's going to be a lot of episodes, a lot of little parts where it focuses on each of the characters individually, and then also parts where it focuses on all of them. So right now we're focusing a lot on Makoto. The other characters have plenty of screen time and focus too, but Makoto definitely has a thing going on with the ocean. It's not 100% clear. We only saw a brief glimpse of the flashback, but it's something that pretty much everyone seems to know about except Ko and Miss A. From what I could tell from the brief flashback, someone must have died. And based on his reaction at the very end before the cliffhanger, I'm assuming someone died in the ocean, probably drowned. And the fact that now Ray is nearly drowning, that's going to be hard for him to have to deal with. There seems to be some kind of issue with him in the ocean, but he also seems to not be like completely terrified of it because he's able to swim in it. He's able to get near it, get in it, swim in it without too much of an issue. His big issue comes in the case of just bad memories that really seem to kind of haunt him. Like you could tell by the way he was talking at certain points that something was wrong, something was bothering him. It's not too bad to where it cripples him, but it's noteworthy. Even when Ko was talking to Reen, he even mentioned it. He even brought it up. He's like, "Wait, Makoto's okay with this?" He even seemed concerned, showing which actually develops Reen a little more, showing that he does care about them still, even if he's trying to be tsundere. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm really interested to hear the full scope of that, likely in the next episode. So yeah, we also have Coach. I cannot remember his name at the moment. Is something like Subasa or Sabusa or something like that. But the old coach, who's been repeatedly refusing to help them and coach them. He agrees to help them this one time. He's not going to help them in their training or anything, but he gives them a lift to the island on his squid boat. And yeah, it's like cool. He's helping, and we see more and more of him, and he's definitely going to become more of a character. And I do think eventually he's going to help coach them. It just seems like it's going in that direction. But he's a nice character, and there was even a little bit of possible shipping fuel with him and Miss A. You know I'm a filthy shipper, so you know that that kind of stuff excites me. Unless it's a ship I really hate, but usually that's mostly MLP or Star Versus or sometimes Steven Universe where that happens. Um, but yeah, it's like I'd be okay with that as long as they get some more on-screen moments together, some chemistry going. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that idea. Um, there was also a couple moments in this where it seemed like it was building up the idea that something was going to happen. Obviously, we know what that is by the end with Ray nearly drowning. It's obvious he's going to be saved by Makoto. Um, but yeah, it definitely felt like something was going to happen almost the entire time. And that basically just ties in with the way Makoto was acting. There was something wrong, but you could also feel like something was about to again happen. Something big was about to happen. That was going to be a big thing. And then you started to see Ray having self-doubts. A lot of self-doubts, which makes sense. It's not out of character for him. It's actually really in character for him. And on top of that, it fits with his entire part in the team, having only just recently learned how to swim, and only with one specific style. Um, so it makes a lot of sense that he would have these doubts. So when he does sneak out at night to try to get some extra practice in on his own, it doesn't surprise you. It actually makes a lot of sense and fits very well. The only problem is obviously it leads into the other part with the big thing happening. Um, but this episode in general did all of this kind of stuff very well in terms of giving off this feeling throughout the episode. In the way people talked, the way they acted, just the various musical cues, even, you could tell that things were going to be happening. You could tell something big was going to occur. You could tell kind of where it was going with Ray, etc., etc. It's this series is really good at that, actually. Um, and I'm actually really impressed by it because not a lot of shows can do that kind of subtle foreshadowing um, to that well of a degree. I mean, there's a lot of shows, a lot of movies that foreshadow pretty well, but the way it was handled here just felt really expert. Like the people who wrote this, or person who wrote this, I guess, from was Free a manga at first? I don't know if Free was a manga at first or if it was an anime original and became a manga. I'm actually not sure with this series. Either way, the writer, whoever it was, and the artists and animators and all, they just added in those cues, those visual and auditory cues that were very, very well handled. And again, kind of felt very expertly done, like they had done this kind of thing before. And it's likely that they have. I just don't know for sure. Um, it just really feels like a lot of care was put into this. A lot of care was put into showcasing this stuff. And I mean, especially with Makoto, with his issues with the ocean and all. It feels very real. And again, it's not to the degree where he's utterly petrified by the ocean. But for what it is, it feels very genuine. Like this is, it almost feels like it's written from the perspective of someone who understands what this kind of thing would be like, what that kind of traumatic incident, the kind of scars it would leave on a person mentally. This feels like it was very well handled in that. So I really have to give credit where credit's due. And again, I've been enjoying this series just in general, but like, wow. It really takes it a step up, a notch further. And I was thinking at one point during this, I'm like, I wonder if I'll see any free cosplayers at Youmacon this year. Um, and the thing is, like, I think that about a lot of different shows and stuff, but usually that random thought comes into my head only when it's a show that I'm really enjoying. It's like, because it's not just, oh, I wonder if I'll see them. My mind is going like, I want to see them. And I've seen free cosplayers at every Youmacon I've been to, and it's likely I will see them again. So yeah, it's definitely more like I want to see them now, and I want to get pictures and video for my cosplay music video. I want to compliment them on the cosplays, even though there's like not much to them. um, I want to acknowledge this fan base and this show because I'm enjoying it. And it's like, again, I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would like this as much as I am. And the fact that I am enjoying this as much as I am just preaches to the quality of this show. And I love that. I talk about it all the time with Carol and Tuesday, how I love getting excited about a show. I just talked about it with the Carol and Tuesday episode I recorded today from last week's episode. I talked about how I love getting excited about shows, because when I feel excited about a show, it makes the reactions I feel that much better, because it makes me passionate about the story, about the characters, yada yada yada. In Carol and Tuesday's case, the music. um, and I think it's a very positive thing to be passionate, whether it's about a show, a movie, a game, a book, etc. Passion is amazing. Even if you're not passionate for something someone else is, just seeing them be so excited about it is something that's almost contagious. Being around them just makes you happy. And I've experienced that. People getting excited about Game of Thrones, which I'm not really that big of a fan about. It's just exciting and fun to see people so excited about it. And it's fun to be excited. It's fun to be on that side of things too. Because when you're watching a show, you always want it to be good. Unless you're watching like a bad movie or something and that you purposefully want it to be so bad it's good. Which, yeah, still wanting it to be good in a way. But you want these shows you're watching to be good, especially when it's something you've never seen before. You want to enjoy. You want it to be something that can really excite you. And when it does, it means that much more. It really just it gets those it gets those that happiness running in your head, and it's like, yeah, this is what I wanted. This is what I want to see. And so, yeah, I get super excited at this kind of thing when I see a show that I'm really legitimately enjoying this much. Now, I would not by any means say that this is one of my favorite anime. Not yet, at least. But it's actually a lot higher up than I thought it would be. If I had to give it some kind of ranking at this point, it probably, just at this point, mind you, it would probably be top 20. Which is big. Like, that's actually pretty amazing. Um, just counting anime, by the way, not counting in all cartoons and live action stuff I've seen, just to keep it fair. Um, but yeah, it's really just impressing me. And I'm so excited and happy about that. Especially because of so many shows I've watched lately that I've dropped. So many reactions that I just could not continue on. So when I see a show like this that really excites me, it means something special is going on. It means that it's really my kind of thing. And no, not just because of the fan service, even though, as I said in the pre-thoughts, I am definitely on board for that. No, I mean, I love the story. I love the characters. I love how they implement those subtle things into it, that subtle foreshadowing. I love the way that the way that they foreshadow character developments. I love the character developments themselves, the art, the animation, the musical score, the voice acting. Even if Vic Mignogna is in it, it's all great, and I just love that so fucking much. I am just so on board with it. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Free. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,